Salutations, crustaceans. I'm Lobster, and today we have a mod project. That's right, we have our Jackson CBXNT DX IV, and it's going to be modded with some really cool stuff. Let's get started. This is my Jackson CBXNT DX IV, lovingly known as the Jackenbacker for its Jackson name and Rickenbacker-esque styling cues. I reviewed this bass recently and was honestly very impressed with the build quality, the tones, everything about it was actually top notch. Make fun of the styling all you will, this bass delivers. If you want to see my full review, that'll be linked in the description below. But I praise this bass for its high quality build and great tones. Now, today we are going to see if we can make this even better. Big thank you to EMG and Darkglass Electronics for providing the parts for this build. We have the EMG, Geezer Butler pickups, and a Darkglass Tone Capsule that'll be going into this bass today. So what are we going to call this bass? I mean, it's the Jackenbacker with Geezer Butler pickups. Welcome to Project JackenGeezer. Now before we get started on the modding, let's play this bass in its stock form, hear what it sounds like, and then we'll get to it. You all know what you need to do. Go ahead and pinch that like button so my hand will turn back to normal. Thanks. So what we have here is a PJ configuration with a single coil J pickup and a split coil P pickup. That results in a little bit of single coil hum in the J pickup when you have a noisy environment like what we have here. We are going to go through a series of tones playing with this preamp and going through the pickup combinations as well. Let's start out with the neck pickup. Here is the preamp centered. Next, let's crank the treble control. With that, let's take the mid control all the way down, leaving the bass centered and the treble at 100% boost. Nice. Let's do the same thing with both pickups engaged. I'll center the preamp, and here's what this sounds like. Next, we'll crank the treble. And here is the mids scooped. And finally, let's move to our jazz pickup in the bridge position, bring our treble down and our mids up. Here's the treble cranked. And the mid scooped. So there you have the stock configuration for the Jackenbacker here. Now I gotta say, I am not sure if this is going to be an upgrade or a side grade, as the stock electronics already sound really nice. So we are going to see what the end result is going to be. But first, we have to build it. To the workbench! So here we are at my workbench, and we are going to be installing the EMG Geezer Butler pickups, as well as the Darkglass Tone Capsule preamp. We're also going to be utilizing the prototype of an EMG passive balance control, which will go in place of the stock balance control. To get started, we are going to remove all the electronics, but to get to those, we need to remove the strings and the pick guard. Let's do it. Okay, with these strings out of the way, let's start removing our pick guard. Okay, with our pick guard screws removed, let's go ahead and take everything out. So we can see the preamp in here and the little plug connectors for the various controls for the 3-band EQ. And we can see our pickup route as well. Everything goes straight into the control cavity here, which seems to be rather large. Let's start by removing our controls and our jack, and then we'll remove our pickups. Okay, with our pick guard removed, we'll put that aside and take care of the controls and the jack. Next, we're going to cut our battery connectors here. And our jazz bass pickup, we're going to remove that. And finally, our bridge ground, we're going to snip that. And then we can unscrew our P pickup and take out all the electronics. Next, we're going to remove our bridge pickup. Okay, our pickups have been removed. So now I'm going to try and make this as plug and play as possible. We are going to be utilizing the stock battery connectors because these are going to be going into our Darkglass preamp. And we'll be using all the plug and play EMG pots as well as an EMG jack, though it will be a stereo jack, as that's what we need for an active circuit, which the Darkglass is. So we will not be using the passive jack, the 2-prong jack that comes with the Geezer pickups. So let's get started with our pick guard, and we are going to start mounting our controls. I am going to put the bass to the side for now, and then we'll grab it once we start installing our pickups. Okay, with our pick guard here, we are going to install our EMG and Darkglass controls. We're going to have our 3 EQ controls here, and then our volume and blend. Let's get started. First, we have our EMG balance control. This is a prototype, I believe, for a passive balance control or blend control. With our blend control installed, we're next going to install our volume control, and that will be in our pickup pack here. So here is our passive volume control. Let's go ahead and install that in this position here. Next, we're going to connect our EMG blend control to the volume control. Next, we are going to set up our Darkglass Tone Capsule. Let's go ahead and open that up. And again, a big thank you to Darkglass for supplying this for this video. I really appreciate it. Looks like this one is already set up and good to go. Everything is already plugged in. All we have to worry about is connecting these 4 connectors here, which we will. Okay, it looks like the EQ pot shaft is a little bit too wide for the pick guard, so we are going to use our drill to get in there and widen these a little bit. Okay, our pick guard has been drilled out, and I have prepped all 3 pots here to go onto the pick guard now. Let's get the right ones in the right spots. Okay, our EQ controls have been installed, And our preamp module is right here. Next, we are going to try and connect everything. Let's get started. So we're going to take an EMG wire here and snip it and strip it. So we are going to connect our stripped EMG connector to the Darkglass. The first two connectors are labeled in and ground. We're going to connect the white wire into in and the black wire into ground. Next, we have our output and our 9-volt. The 9-volt will be the red wire from our battery harness, and the output is going to go to our EMG jack. As I mentioned, we're going to be using a stereo jack from EMG, normally used on their active bases. And that is because we need to power the active circuit here. Here is our jack. Let's get started. Just like what we did with this wire here, we're going to strip the end here, but first we'll snip the tip. Now the black wire is going to go into the ground portion as well here. If you notice, I'd never tightened it down, so we're going to stick that in there as well. Tighten that down. And then this 9-volt connector here in the middle, that is going to connect again to the red wire from the battery harness. We're going to be using the stock battery harness. So these are going to go to the jack, and the third prong I'm going to solder from the battery harness, or potentially extend the wire. We'll see. So next I'm going to take this wire here and plug it into our volume pot. And now we can start assembling the base. I'm going to go ahead and put this aside, and we will grab the Jackson. Now before we start connecting things, I'm going to take these ground wires here, and we are going to strip the ends. This is the bridge ground and the cavity grounds. Seems like they're going for some nice continuity here. Great job, Jackson. This is something you usually don't see out of a Fender subsidiary. So we are going to crimp down the bridge ground connector. As for the cavity connectors, I might just remove these, honestly. We'll see how we fare without them. Okay, all we have left are our power connectors. This one I'm going to strip. And the only soldering we're going to be doing is just extending this power connector, the battery ground, to complete the battery circuit. So I'm just going to strip both ends. We're going to get our soldering iron ready. Okay, with our battery connector all soldered up, let's go ahead and bring back our pick guard and get the pickups installed. So here is our pick guard. So now let's wire up our jack, and then we can install it onto the jack plate. Then we will connect our bridge ground here. Okay, next we will connect our 9-volt connector, which is the last screw down connector here. Okay, next we're going to install the pickups. So here are our pickups. Let's go ahead and get them installed. So there's the P. We will use the pick guard to line everything up. But for the J, we will just plug everything right in and secure it. So here's the pickup. Okay, looks like the bridge pickup fits. I'm going to be utilizing these stock pickup screws because they're black. Let's go ahead and install those. Now let's secure these P pickups. Okay, now before I secure everything in place, I'm going to check and make sure we have some output. So we'll be right back.
Many hours later.
It's alive. Let's go ahead and screw down our pick guard. Okay, with our controls in place, let's install the strings and see how she sounds. And we're back with Project JackenGeezer. We've installed the Geezer Butler signature passive EMG pickups along with our active Darkglass preamp. The 3-band high mid, low mid, and bass control pairs very nicely with these EMG Geezer Butler pickups. We have the experimental EMG blend control for passive pickups as well. Let's start out with everything centered, including the blend control and the preamp. Wow. Now I think the voicing of these pickups is very different versus the Jacksons. However, I think this pairs very nicely with the Darkglass preamp. Let's do our side-to-side comparison with the little riff that we played before and see how it sounds back to back. Let's start out with the neck pickup and we'll go through our 3 preamp configs. First, let's start out with everything centered. Very interesting. So I wouldn't call this necessarily a huge upgrade, but rather a side grade. You have a much more vintage and natural voiced pickup set, and then this clanky and aggressive Darkglass preamp. Keep in mind, we only compared 3 different types of tones and the 3 extreme pickup combinations. The neck pickup, the bridge pickup, and then both pickups together evenly matched. There's a lot of flexibility here though, so let's check out this preamp in a bit more detail. I'm going to have it on the neck pickup first, and let's play with the bass control. Let's start with that and give that a 50% boost, leaving the high mids and low mids centered. Let's add some treble to that. We have a 50% treble boost as well. That's where you start to get some teeth. Man, this is interesting and fun. Next, let's go over to both pickups and have the same EQ config with the bass and the treble boost. Now, let's play with the mid control a bit. Let's center the high mids and let's center our bass control, bring that back down, and give the low mids a 50% boost with both pickups engaged. Let's pan over to the neck pickup now with the same thing. With the low mids boosted about 50% on the neck pickup, let's crank the high mids and cut the bass about 50% as well. Okay, let's center the EQ and center the pickups, and let's just use our pick a little bit, see what happens. Man, I think this sounds great. It's definitely different than the stock pickup config. Definitely different. A little, I guess, less aggressive, but you have some more clarity and some more of a vintage vibe to it. I dig it. Now, let's see how she slaps. Very nice, very nice. And actually, finally, let's throw some drums behind this bass. So here are my final thoughts on Project JackenGeezer. Overall, I think this is a pretty neat upgrade. Tonally, it differs quite a bit from the stock pickups, which were not bad by any means and paired well with the stock preamp. However, this is definitely a different voice, and I dig it overall. I wouldn't necessarily call this like an upgrade, but more of a side grade. You're getting that Darkglass flavor and the EMG Geezer Butler vintage voiced pickups. I believe these are voiced after, or at least the P pickup is voiced after Bobby Vega's like 62P bass or something like that. So it's not necessarily the most like aggressive tone, but there's a lot of body and fatness to it, and it sounds really good. Now you may notice that the volume and the blend knobs are EMG controls. That's because the stock knobs did not fit on these new EMG pots. Bummer. But regardless, I think it looks good, and I think it plays nicely and sounds nice as well. Let me know what you all think down in the comments below. Well, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, everyone. Be sure to like, subscribe, join our Discord channel, and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about Project JackenGeezer, our EMG and Darkglass powered Jackson CBXNT DX IV, the Jackenbacker. And as always, until we groove again,